Right, so today I want to make an update on the new case totals. We have another gun ban update. We have some other big stuff going on. So getting right into it, Canada is up to 61,216 cases, 3,917 dead. Alberta 5,893 cases, 106 dead, 3,219 recovered, 167,015 tests. Um, 57 new cases yesterday. So, I know I keep pointing this out, but it's so much more obvious now that I'm going to keep reiterating it until things actually change. I know a lot of people may be annoyed by it, but again, if there's anything to be annoyed by and if there's anything that needs to be repeated, it's something like this. This isn't arguing over, a small percent, change in the tax rate or, stuff that's kind of minute. This is big. Um, so again, I'm going to reiterate. We've had what 4 straight days now under 100 cases. The curve has been long flattened um, in Canada as well as Alberta. And again, the government just announced. I believe they're going to be able to increase the amount of people tested per day up to like 15,000 or something like that. I know it was over 10,000 by June 1st. So again, like I keep pointing out, but again, people just don't seem to get it because they're falling for the mainstream media fear mongering and the fear mongering of you know Tam and Haydu and all these idiots in the federal government. Um, there's absolutely no reason we shouldn't already be pretty much opened, if not fully opened. And like I say, I always throw the caveat out there because people throw in, oh, you want old people to die. Well, no. 80% of the deaths from this are in long term care homes. Whether or not we open or not has nothing to do whatsoever with long term care homes. So even if we would have stayed open and closed long term care homes, we only would have we could have prevented the 80% is completely out the window. We're dealing with the 20%. Now, I hypothesize, and I think it's rather obvious, but I mean, a lot of people will deny it because of their BS political beliefs, in that if we would have closed the borders, if we would have taken this seriously off the start, if we would have closed off nursing homes off the start, I think that the death rate and kept the economy open. Everybody stays at work other than people who have pre-existing health conditions or are over whatever 60, 70 years old. If which is probably what 90 most of the workforce. I don't know what the exact number would be. We would have had a very small hit. I mean, we would have had a little bit of a small recession, I would say. But now we're going to have a massive recession. And again, this is the problem that the keep everything closed or we're all going to die crowd refuses to acknowledge. A lot of them because they're just so ignorant and dumbed down, they literally don't even know any better. A lot of people like the close downs, and like I keep mentioning too, the conservatives were talking yesterday, namely Andrew Scheer, about how um, his words were more than likely twisted. Again, I don't know exactly what he said, but I'm going to reiterate. I do believe that there is some people who would much rather be sitting at home collecting their 2,000 a month or even more if you have kids than working. I don't know understand how anybody can possibly deny that. The debate is what percentage of people are in that group. That's where the debate is. So criticizing Shear over this stuff, and again, I didn't vote for Shear, so don't play the your biased conservative card. Um, I didn't vote for him. So again, criticizing Scheer is stupid, and again, it just goes to show how ignorant like the left is. Now, this is one way that if the left is wondering how do we gain ground? How do we get more people to support us or at least not be so critical of us? Well, it's not criticize people when they don't deserve to be criticized, and criticize people when they deserve to be criticized. It's very simple. And they're doing the opposite of that. They're doing the complete opposite of that. They're criticizing Scheer more for something that he's right about than the federal government for completely botching this whole situation and more than likely going to be pretty much fully responsible for bringing on the worst recession the country has ever seen. And I don't say that lightly. And again, I don't know for sure. I mean, but most experts I've seen I've seen, high level banking experts, very respectable people in the financial industry, multiple people saying, yeah, this is going to be something that's going to take upwards of 2 or 3 years, maybe even longer to get out of. So again, that's the problem that I just want to reiterate, and why I keep talking about it is so many people don't seem to understand it. Is that it's not a simple, the keep everything locked down or we're all going to die crowd. Like I say, they seem to think that there's literally no downside to keeping things closed and keeping things closed any longer. Like it's just no downside whatsoever, like none whatsoever. And like I say, the level, just how oblivious they are, it cannot be understated. Like it's elephant in the room level of how oblivious these people are. So anyway, we're talking about the whole gun ban thing. Now, yesterday it was reported that 10 gauge and 12 gauge shotguns were now banned. The problem being is that any guns over 20 millimeter, in diameter are banned. Now, 12 gauges can be up to 20.02 millimeters, which is again what, like 2 thousandths of an inch. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but again, 0.02 millimeters. Like that is incredibly small. Like even a millimeter, you can barely even see, with the naked eye, let alone 0.02 millimeters. So again, the problem being is that we have Bill Blair saying this is absolutely incorrect, and we will be reaching out to correct their misunderstanding. So they're basically saying that 10 gauge and 12 gauge shotguns are exempt. Now, the problem with that being is I've seen multiple people on social media call the RCMP or say they called the RCMP and said, yeah, guns over 20 millimeters are prohibited no matter what they are. So again, this is a massive, problem, and I really hope that it blows up in their face. Like I really hope that it blows up in their face. Not that it shouldn't have already prior to this, but again, this just goes to show just how little thought and effort they put into this. And um, like I say, they have Facebook groups. They had an airsoft gun that was on the list. Now that they didn't even think to measure the bore of a shotgun before the whole 20 millimeter thing. And I heard some a friend bringing up over text the day before, 2 days ago, and saying, hey, like are 12 gauges banned now too? Like are 10 gauges banned? And I say I didn't know, because off the top of my head I'm just thinking, like I don't have a shotgun at home, just at the farm. um, and I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. It's probably really close. And I seen the next morning, people were starting to post the whole, it's very close. It could be just under, just over, depending on the choke. So yeah, like I say, this is a big mess up by the government. Again, not that they're, like they said, they're completely wrong. Every gun they banned shouldn't have been banned. The gun laws are already way too strict in Canada. So, um, yeah, this is something, like I say, this is something that I don't know what's going to happen, but for the time being, like I say too, I'm not a legal expert, and clearly even the legal experts, namely the RCMP, the people making the laws, don't even seem to give you a coherent answer. So what you want to do with your shotguns going forward until a definitive, you know, set in stone, legal precedent has been set, completely up to you. I that, like I say, I'm not going to make any suggestions, because like I say, even the experts don't even seem to know what they're talking about. So yeah, that is that. But again, like I want to reiterate, like I say, they've completely botched this whole situation. Like I say, it just goes to show just how little they know. Like I say, they calling an AR-15, comparing hunting with an AR-15. Again, it just goes to show, like, again, these people have no idea whatsoever what they're talking about. But yet these are the people that are legislating this kind of stuff. And again, if you criticize TAM or the World Health Organization, you're terrible because you're not an expert. You're not a doctor. But you have people who don't even know the current gun laws. You criticize them, yeah, and you're the bad guy, even though you know way more than these people do. So again, it's just double standard after double standard, contradiction after contradiction. Again, it just bothers me a lot. But anyway, get into some other stuff here. So again, this whole smartphone, virus tracing app that the government of Alberta launched. I don't know if some other provinces have done it. I don't know. But the long story short with this app, don't download it. You're an idiot to download it. Um, like I say, the overwhelming majority of the population has literally nothing to worry about. And if you do have something to worry about, you probably don't have a smartphone to begin with, because I don't know many 80-year-olds who have smartphones. So again, don't download the app. Again, the government will abuse this kind of stuff to the nth degree. And the reason, again, we have a conservative government. So again, this isn't any, I mean, the Trudeau government, I'm sure, would love to do stuff like this. But again, this is the Alberta government, a conservative government. I am calling them out. Again, this app should never have came to pass. Again, I don't care. This isn't the doomsday virus. Again, it's not even close. Not even close. You know, we just had a pretty big story come out today. I'm going to talk about it in the coming days. But there's absolutely no reason for this kind of stuff. We should all be back at work right now. You know, it should be an afterthought. Aside from the fact that you can't go visit your, you know, parents, grandparents at the old folks home, and you know, if someone has pre-existing health conditions that could make them susceptible to die, yeah, those kind of people you're not going to be able to see, because they should definitely stay in isolation. But again, quarantining healthy people does not make any sense whatsoever. Not whatsoever. Um, Again, so this is from Bloomberg, and then Luke Rudowski is responding. He says, was saying this for months ago. Zero Hedge got banned from Twitter for mentioning it months ago as well. And now we finally have this. Let's just hope it's not used as an excuse to start a conflict with China. Now, again, Mike Pompeo, who's the Secretary of State for the U.S., says enormous evidence connects virus to Wuhan lab. And again, this has been very, very likely for a long time now. I mean, the whole bat theory makes no sense. There was no evidence for it to begin with. Um, like I say, for the simple reason that they didn't sell bats at the market that they claim it came from. The bats that they claim that it came from, you know, live naturally like 1,000 kilometers away. You know, that would be like saying that, you know, a caribou from the Rocky Mountains attacked you when you're in like Toronto, or, you know, Winnipeg even. Like, again, that sounds crazy. But, you know, just to point that out. But like I said, this is something that we've known for a while, and like I pointed out to people on social media, no, you're a conspiracy theorist, even though like you're the most obvious, the bat theory is the conspiracy theory. We've known this for a while. Like, what are you talking about? So anyway, last thing here is from Joey Saladino. He says USS Theodore Roosevelt has 4,000 crew members. 1,150 were affected, or were infected. Sorry, one died. 28.74 infection rate. 0.86, sorry, 0.086 death rate. So again, this just goes to show that this virus death rate, honestly, like I say, my prediction has came true. And I'm going to make another video about this going, you know, in the future. I just seen a story about it today, but I got so much stuff to talk about, I got to put it off for a little bit. But I've been saying for weeks now, probably a couple weeks, 2, 3 weeks, that by the time this is all said and done, the death rate is going to be comparable to the flu, and it already is. It already is. You know, the flu death rate, again, I seen on CNN the other day, they're having their town hall, and the one doctor guy mentioned, yeah, the flu's death rate's about 0.1%. Sure enough, what is the virus death rate? Oh, about 0.1%. Wow. Like we've been saying for weeks. And again, um, like I say, people are going, like I say, this is going to go down in history as one of the biggest mess ups in the history of the world. And like I say, I don't say that lightly, but again, we destroyed our economy, you know, for something that has a death rate comparable to the flu. You know, not as many people have yet to die from it in the States as the 2018 flu year, like the last flu. You know, I guess not including this one. But again, this one we don't know, because a lot of people that have the flu aren't being diagnosed because they're focusing on the virus. So the last flu year that we have reliable numbers for, what, 60,000, I think it was 62,000 people died. The States is at what, like 45,000 people? Again, we're still a ways away. So again, the thing to point out too is that the shutdown was designed to prevent the hospitals from being overwhelmed. Not just if it would just save one life. That was never the argument. And this is something that I can't stand about the keep things closed down crowd, is that they're continuously having to move the goalposts to justify their stupid beliefs. Again, the original reason for locking down was to not overwhelm the hospital system. It had nothing to do with if we just save one life. If you actually believe that, you should be for, cutting speed limits in half, uh, banning pools, banning, this, that, and the other thing, because if it would only save one life. But again, that's what we have in society. We have costs and benefits, and we set it at a nice middle ground to where we still have. I mean, I don't agree with most of it, but you know, this is at least what the majority of people think, is that we set it at a nice middle ground to where not an excessive amount of people die, but we still have enough freedom so we don't have to drive around going 20 kilometers an hour everywhere, and having to wear floaties every time you go in the pool, and you know having to put down ice melt, mandatory ice melt every day because you could fall and hit your head, and just to complete another tyranny. Like I say, that's why we shut it down. And this is what I cannot stand about the people. And two, I'd like to hear a coherent argument against it, because at this point it's so blatantly obvious that the people who still want it to be closed down, like I say, like, what is it going to take? Like, what is it going to take? The death rate is clearly almost exactly the same as the flu. And 2 months ago we were making fun of people. You're so stupid. It's just the flu, bro, kind of people. And it turns out that those people were right. Now, again, the chances of being infected is definitely higher with the virus than the flu, to be fair, but that doesn't really matter. That doesn't really matter. Like I say, the reason why we shut things down was so that the hospitals wouldn't be overwhelmed. We have hospitals that are barely in. I mean, look at all these hospitals in the States that are on the verge of having to be shut down because there's nobody in them. Look at Canada. Like, you have cancer diagnosis is down by like 25%. There's going to be thousands of people that are going to die because they've had cancer for too long. It's going to be discovered too late, and guess what? People are going to die. And the problem is that that stuff, you can't accurately track stuff like that. There's no statistic for, hey, this person would have not died from cancer if it would have been discovered 2 or 3 months earlier. This person would have not committed suicide if they wouldn't have lost their job. They don't track stats for that, and you put it all together. And that's the problem too, is that to keep everything locked down, we're all going to die crowd completely is completely oblivious to that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's kind of the video for today. A lot of stuff to go over. So if you'd like to, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. Check out my PayPal and email. I got linked in the description. I appreciate any donations, but at the very least, just hit that like and subscribe. And last couple things, as always, check me out on Twitter if you haven't already. Again, I just got Twitter like last week, so follow me on there. And check out my BitChute channel as well if you haven't there too.